Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are yet again on the roll. For those of you who are new to the program, I'm going to just explain to you in a second how that goes. But first of all, hello to Jamie and hello, Isabel. Good to see you both. For those of you who are new, either you're watching the broadcast or you're watching it on the replay, understand that how we do this is we spend the first little bit of time just doing some news, views, and updates on people. We're like a big extended family, and we like to keep up to date with everybody in terms of the things they'd like to share with one another. And then later on, we will get on to the topic of today. And today, by a request, I'm doing quotes from Robin Williams. But before I do that, I'm going to be doing some other work that I thought would be important to do in terms of Robin Williams's history. So just know that that's going to happen. But before we get on to that, hi, Jody, good to see you. I just wanted to say that as far as I know, there aren't any birthdays this week other than we had Nyasha's at the beginning of the month. But I don't think we've got any others that I'm aware of. So if you've got a birthday or an anniversary or something that's important to you this week, just let us know so that I can make sure we don't miss that for future times. In terms of thoughts and prayers, a couple of things. Lauren is still in hospital, but doing much better as far as we know. The only thing is that she's lost a lot of weight this week. That worries me, but I'm just being a mother hen probably. you know, so we will see how that goes, and I'm sure she'll keep us up to date. The other thing is we've just heard that Marie's dog is not doing very well, so we'll keep our thoughts and prayers going there as well. Other than that, I'm not sure that we've got anybody else that been. Oh, we have good news from Erin. Erin's let us know that her numbers are looking good, so that's awesome. That's always good to hear that from Erin because she goes through so many bad weeks of diagnoses and things. But it looks like all her liver numbers are doing well, and I know a lot of you will want to know about that. So, what else did I have to report? I am doing well. Thank you. For those that have been watching this, I've really been helped by the attitude I decided to take, which was it's not about what I can't do, it's about what I can, and what can I do to help myself live a better life. For those of you who don't know, I got diagnosed with diabetes a couple of weeks ago now, and I've had some more blood tests done, and I'll probably get the results of those coming in pretty soon. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to check the there was a phone call that came in between the two broadcasts, and I didn't check what that was about, so I hope it wasn't important because I never checked it. All right, so there's a note for me to do so when I finished here. But other than that, I had a good week and a bad week. No, I had a good week, really, overall. I did find yesterday I struggled. I had a pretty good balanced. I aimed to get my carbs somewhere below 45% of my intake, and preferably closer to 40. And that to me is sort of like that's how I'm doing it. Rather than be on a diet, I sort of go, okay, fine, this is what I'm aiming for, and I'm just going to look here to see how I'm doing today. And to me, it's easier. I guess everybody's got their own way of doing this. Some people need to go on a diet. I need to know, okay, fine, I can eat whatever I like, but I need to keep it below this. I am on 44% carbs at the moment today. And so that's pretty good. I'm pleased. What is quite funny is some days I have to go over the calories I want to eat just so I can get my carbs settled down. And that is a balancing game that I didn't know that you could play. In other words, if your carbs are too high, you can actually eat more proteins. And if you do that, then it sort of balances it out, and your carbs get back in line. I was saying at the lunchtime broadcast that I had a difficult time last night. I managed to do fairly well until midnight, and then suddenly I needed sugar, and it was scary to me because I try as I might fight with myself, I needed sugar, and I knew I needed sugar. And so it was really weird. So I just, I went, okay, fine. I've got some popsicles in the freezer, some pretty good ice cream bars. And then I had to go back for a second one. How did I know what, Nana? So, to me, it was a difficult day, and I sort of started to beat up on myself because I wasn't perfect, I guess. And then I realized that wasn't helping anybody, and I was pretty sure that I wasn't the only one that had gone over. Low sugar, yes, I was. How did I know? Oh, I could feel it in my body. I felt suddenly very weak and um, spacey. How else would I describe it? Just not. Yeah, my head wasn't in the right place at all. And I that was my sense was and I asked my body quite honestly, Nana, um, because I do that. I sort of said to my body, okay, what do you need? And I need sugar, and I went, okay, fine, and went and got that. And then I tried to remember if it's been sweet, you need meat. And so as soon as I'd finished eating the sweetness, I immediately went and got myself some protein to counteract it. But it was very difficult. Yeah, it was really I'm trying to sort of balance that out as well, and go, if you have to go over your calories to get balance, do it. It's like I hope I'm doing the right things, but I'm still not quite right today, but I think I might have a touch of flu or something going on. I'm not quite sure what it is. But anyway, the good news is I'm here, and I am pretty happy to be here too. So any other news or updates that I can think of? Jody, what have I forgotten? Anything that you can think of? I think we're pretty good. Well, anyway, if I think of anything, we'll add it. I want to do some quotes. I was asked, I think it was by Trina in Ireland. Oh, thank you very much, Jody. You're quite right. If I opened up the right page, I'd know that that was big in big letters. Yes, I wanted to make sure you all knew we have started 2 new tabs on the DearMamaSal.com page. If you don't know, we've got a website. I've started 2 new ones because I think it's really important. The first one that I opened up was the fitness one, where it's showing anybody who's joined the my virtual mission. Anybody who has joined in doing that, I'm putting their links onto that page so you can see how they're doing. How's Jody doing on her way to the ocean? How's Sal doing on her way, across British Columbia? And how's Lauren doing on her trek down Tasmania? I just thought it would be a nice place for everybody to be able to go to one place and see how everybody's doing. And I hope that's what you would have wanted. The other tab I've put on is a resource tab. I realize that I keep talking about different, books and tapes and things that I've seen and so forth. And I thought you might appreciate having one place that you could go to. If you go, wait a minute, didn't Sal talk about that last week? So what I wanted to do was to give a page where we sort of put the main things that we talk about there. In other words, if I refer to a book, or if I refer to, for example, at lunchtime today, I was talking about Og Mandino, and a book that I read so many years ago now, and called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And what I wanted to do is to make sure that when I talk about these things, that if you want to check up on them, that you can. And also, I was talking about the loofah thing. I put a thing up on the Facebook page about loofahs. And I want to tell you something. I for sure as heck did not know that loofahs came from a plant. I'd always been told they came from the sea, and that was incorrect. And so it's very interesting that I happened to put that little piece of video out for people, and also, how to use them in your home. With everybody trying to do less disposable stuff and more organic stuff, I thought it was really interesting. And I've been using mine ever since. Funny enough, I have a loofah type mat in my shower. It's actually, I think, probably not. It's probably a fake one, but I have it in my shower. And I want to tell you, since I've had that mat in my shower with that sort of rough surface to it, I never have to worry about the soles of my feet getting getting hard and yucky. My feet have been in great condition ever since I started using that. So I really recommend doing that. If you've got a shower, get if you can get a loofah type mat. But this one I think was a fake loofah. But it really does. It helps exfoliate your feet while you're showering without doing anything. You know me. I'm all for how can I do this without any effort. All right, so that's that. And if you think of anything else, just add it onto the list. I'm going to do some quotes, as I said, in a second. And they're going to be from Robin Williams. And as I said, I believe it was Trish that asked me to do quotes from him. For those of you who are watching for the first time, what we're inclined to do is to put up the quote, and then whatever that brings up for each of us, we just talk about it. And I think that's very important. But what I thought, the reason I called today's broadcast The Masks That We Wear, I think perhaps I should do a time check here, Jody, at 12 minutes, 30 seconds. I want to talk today about the masks that we wear. How many of you were surprised, for example, that Robin Williams committed suicide? Or that Anthony Bourdain did? And part of what I was thinking about is when we think about these incredible people and the impact they had on our lives, also remember that they lived a private hell. And because of that, I wanted to start today's broadcast with just a little bit of check-in time. Now, do you all remember that the journey between what I say and where it hits your mind is going to go through your emotional reaction? All right. So if you like, the words come out here, it goes through an emotional filter where you react, and you have control of that, because if it's emotion, you have the ability to control it. And then it ends up in the main brain area. Did I explain that in a way that makes any sense? So that's how information travels. It goes first for the emotional, and this is where we can choose to react or not, and then it goes through for the main processing. And the reason I wanted to just remind you about that is because some of these questions I'm about to ask you may trigger you. And if they do, remember to talk about it, because then we can help you process it through to the main brain and get out of some of that. So anytime that you get triggered by anything, all right, we do it to ourselves. So be careful. So here are a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. You don't have to answer them, but if you want to, that's great. I might talk about a couple just so that I can show you by example. I actually run through a list that I ask myself every now and then, just to make sure that I am in authenticity and in congruence, I think is the word. That's a really big word, isn't it? I think it's ants or ants. Is it congruence or congruence? Okay, I'm not sure. But anyway, In other words, that I'm being true to myself because I lived a lot of my life. I don't know if any of you relate to that, but being a performer, which I was, it required that I live my normal life and then I'd put on the mask, which was performer, and then I'd perform and then I'd stop performing, I'd take off the mask and go and live my regular life again. And that's a very difficult life to live. And, like Robin Williams, I've spent a lot of time making people laugh. And, you know, sometimes when I was in deep depression or when I was deathly ill or whatever, but my job, was to be funny. It was part of my job as a performer. So, oh, Beth is master of the masks. Okay. So, Beth, just be careful as I go through these, honey. I know that you are very honest and open. Um, Thank you, Jody, for checking that for me. So just keep control. All right. So I'm just going to ask a couple of questions, and these are the ones I ask myself. So if you'd like time to write them down, just tell me to slow down. If you want to grab a pen and a piece of paper, that would be a good idea because these are really good questions to ask yourself at least once a week. Okay. Things like I say to myself, if you knew me, you would, and I answer the question. So I might say, if you knew me, you'd know that I'm not as confident as you think I am. Does that make sense? I might answer it like that. If you knew me, if you really knew me, right? Not just sort of know you. I'm amazed how many people think they know me. But if you knew me, deep down, then, what would you know about me? The second one that I ask is, if you cared about me, you would stay in touch, for example. Um, how about this one? I ask myself this one because I spent a lot of my time with masks on. If I didn't pretend, I would, for example, when I was performing a lot and very funny, I would say if I didn't pretend, um, I'd be quite quiet and sad. Might be how I answered that, right? And then the next one, how's everybody doing with this? You okay? Everybody in a good space still? I just don't want people overreacting to these, but they're really good questions to ask yourself if you want to stay in integrity. Okay, I'm not getting any answers, so I'm going to just carry on. And another one might be if I were honest, I would tell you da 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 da. And that was quite funny because what I discovered, and Beth, you were talking about it the recently, all right, which is we literally lived a lie for a lot of our lives. And so if I were honest, I would tell you da 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 da. How about if I trusted you? What would I share with you? The reason I say that is I always say to people, be very careful who you trust your stuff, as I call it, your stuff with, because you need to make sure you are sharing your stuff with people you can trust. And that is not everybody, as we found out to our horror in our lives, right? That you were talking to people you thought you could trust, and then they use that against you in an evil way. And so one of the questions I ask is, if I trusted you, what would I tell you? And I try to make sure that I have people I can tell that to. In other words, I always want to make sure I've got people in my life that I can trust my real truth to. I might not share that with the whole world, but there's some parts of my life that, I do hold private, but I also need to be able to share them. Yes, Jody's saying, you'd see me at my most vulnerable self. Exactly. Not as the, admin of DearMamaSal who looks after everybody and keeps us all in line. No, Jody, I totally understand. And So, these are really important questions that I really recommend you ask yourself. Another one that I learned to ask myself was, what people don't know about me is, and it always surprised me what my answer was to that. And the answer was, I'm really quite quiet. How many of you are surprised to hear that? you know, it's a really peculiar thing. I'm really a very quiet person. A very, yeah. Beth, is it okay for me to repeat this? And so to me, it's really important that you understand. Yeah, thanks, Beth. Okay, and Nana, let me know if I can repeat your stuff because this is very personal stuff we're talking about now. Beth's saying, if you really knew me, you would know that I live in constant fear of being a disappointment. Wow. I would like you to live in constant joy of being as good as you are. You know what I mean? That's interesting. Don't seriously, Beth. Thank you, Nana. Seriously, Beth. There is absolutely no reason to spend the rest of your life starting right now in fear of being a disappointment. Why don't you spend the rest of your life so happy that you are as capable as you are, and you know that you are. You really, you know that you are. To do anything else would be a lie. You know how competent you are. And if you're a disappointment to people, Beth, you're with the wrong people. End of story. I really, if I could give you a gift this year, that would be my gift to you. Really, it's it's not about you, honey. You are who you are. It's about them, and they need to deal with their stuff. And Nana's saying yes, the same thing, right? I think Nana and I knew that about each other at a very deep level. Nana also says that if you really knew me, you'd know I'm a very quiet person. Yeah, and also, Nana, I get a real sense that very um, self. I want to say self-absorbed, but I don't want it to sound like you are selfish in that. But you are capable of entertaining yourself. Let me put it that way. You don't need the world to tell you you're a good person. You know you are. You don't need the world to like you or not. It's just like you are who you are. I get a really yes, very self-aware. And by the way, that is one of the cornerstones of emotional intelligence. You remember I said I'm going to spend Friday evenings talking about stuff that has to do with emotional intelligence. To be self-aware is one of the pillars of emotional intelligence. To acknowledge you. Yeah, you don't need people to acknowledge you, do you, Rezan? You learnt that a long time ago. And you choose who you acknowledge. That's the other thing. And so the last one I'd like to just say, hi, Ange, good to see you. I don't know how long you've been listening, but we've just been asking some difficult questions. The last one I like to ask myself is, I say to myself, the thing I am hiding is, and if I come up with anything in that, if I say the thing I am hiding is, then I go, why am I hiding that? Why am I embarrassed about that? Why am I hiding that? If that's what I feel, that's what I feel. So you need to get talking to somebody about this stuff so you don't have to feel this and get out of the space. All right, now I want you to do some of those things because I'm going to talk about some quotes from Robin Williams, and I'm pretty sure that you all know that Robin Williams ended up committing suicide. And so I want you to bear that in mind because I think in some cases, Robin Williams wore an incredible mask. And we didn't know the pain he was going through any more than we did with Anthony Bourdain, who brought us, who went through hell and back and then went back into hell at some level. So here's some quotes from Robin Williams. He said, "There is still a lot to learn, and there's always great stuff out there. Even mistakes can be wonderful." So I wondered whether any of you agree with that. How many of you have made a mistake and it turned out to be wonderful? You're going, wow. I did it once. And just while you're typing, I did it once. I don't have that picture here. I was busy playing with a computer program that was a high tech painting program, and I accidentally pulled out a 1-inch square from one of my paintings that I had digitally got into an album, and I took out this 1-inch square. And it was the most peculiar thing. I'm going, I don't know how to get that back into the picture. And I thought, well, never mind, just save this as another name, and then the original picture will stay as it is. But I kept looking at this 1-inch square, and it was fascinating. And I blew it up. Some of you have seen the poster of the bird. Have you guys, you've seen that one? And really what it was the center of a flower. If you haven't seen it, let me know and I'll go pull it down from the wall so that you can see it. But, it was an absolute mistake that I made. An oops. And then I looked at it and went, maybe that isn't an oops. Maybe that is a great thing that I just found out by accident. And I took a whole series of little 1-inch squares and blew them up and took them to the local store and had them blown up into posters and framed them. And it was incredible. So, Angela, are you saying that you've made a mistake and it turned out to be a good thing? It's always good to see you, by the way, honey, as it is to see Roseanne. The other thing that Robin said was that you're only given a little spark of madness. You mustn't lose it. Right? How many of you agree with that? That, we all need just that little bit of madness in us. All right. Angela, when I think about you and I together, going down the strip, there was this moment of, just who cares that we were adults and we were meant to be behaving ourselves. You gave me a memory of a lifetime. I'd never been to Vegas and I went to go and visit Angela. And there was this little moment of madness as we did that walk down the Vegas Strip and back again, as we talked to people and interviewed people and did all sorts of things. And it was just that little incredible moment. In fact, it was a week of doing that. And, it made it so memorable. And Angela, I will never, ever be able to thank you enough for that, to have shared not only your knowledge of Vegas, but also of your kindness. It was an amazing experience to go through, and it was definitely for me a wealth of memories. And I always say that life is about memories, not about things. So I thank you for that little piece of madness that we shared. As we went down to see Erin and everything else, absolute memory stuff. It was wonderful. Baker. That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The hottest place in America, and I had to visit it. Yeah, it's the biggest thermometer that they have. Apparently, it's huge. It really is. But I want to tell you, the place was scary. People, you got to know this. At Baker, you just, if anybody is old enough to remember the movie Deliverance, you just waited for the banjos to start playing. It was that sort of a place. You just weren't quite sure who was coming around the corner of the store. And it was, it really, you just wouldn't want to be left there, is what I'd have to say, because I'm not quite sure what would happen to you. But great memories to have been there, done that. Just a word alone makes me laugh today. And Robin also said that I used to think the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people that make you feel all alone. I think one of the greatest gifts that we have in doing Dear Mama Sal is we get to choose to come and have friends if ever we need it. And I'm certain that some of you will agree with me that some of the friendships you've made just here within Dear Mama Sal, probably are as meaningful to you as some of the real life friendships that you've had. And for that, we are duly grateful. But it's a two-way trade, and it's what you give to others, you will get back. Now, we've also had people betray us here, and we've also had people lie to us here. You see, it's quite like life, right? It's life is, you're never quite sure of what you're getting. You're never quite sure what mask this person has put on to talk to you. And they pretend to be, this sort of person, but in truth, they're not. Or as we found out, people get their jollies out of being a very, very nasty troll. And we had a couple of trolls that really played us for a long time in the early days. And it was so sad, quite honestly, because they played on the kindness and generosity of the viewers. And I thought that was terrible. And it really hurt. When we found out we'd been trolled on these things, I want to tell you, the first one was really bad. We just got smarter about finding them out after that. How about this one? I think, again by Robin Williams, all right. I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people happy because they know what it's like to feel absolutely worthless, and they don't want anybody else to feel like that. I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people feel happy because they know what it is to feel absolutely worthless, and they don't want anybody else to feel like that. How many of you agree with that? And that's why, it always amazes me how many comedians, for example, end up committing suicide. How many comedians, spend their life making other people happy, but they fail to make themselves happy. That is, really, really sad to me. Yeah, it's like really, and if you've ever been lonely, and I'm sure that some of you have, you will know that is not a nice place to be. But you also, hopefully now, have learned enough to know that being lonely is a self-inflicted wound. The reason that we are lonely is we haven't gone out and made friends, or we haven't gone out of our way to make friends, or we haven't bothered to make friends or keep them or stay in touch. Or because how many of you know that the way that you keep friends is to actually stay in touch? The way you lose friends is to not bother to stay in touch with them. And so to me, and by the way, you don't have to be in touch with them every day. I think that's the thing that I notice, that young people think that your friends, you got to talk to them every day and you got to talk to them all day. And it's funny because some of my best friends I hardly ever speak to. But I do know when that brown sticky stuff hits the fan, they're the people that will step up and be there for me. All right, so Nana is saying, how do you make yourself happy when someone is making you miserable? You have to change the way you look at it. Well, first of all, I would say, yes, Nana, you have to understand nobody makes you miserable. It is your reaction to what the other person is doing that makes you miserable. If somebody is acting in a way that creates misery in you, then your boundary isn't strong enough. Or, you're not getting yourself out of the line of fire. And I think that's a very hard thing for a lot of people to learn. Other people don't do this to us, right, Nana? We do it to ourselves because we just don't. How does one change that? You actually just make a decision. I get out of the line of fire is what I say. So let us say, for example, if you're in a marriage and you're unhappy, I'm going to say that. I know that's not your case, but if you're in a marriage that's unhappy, go get counseling. Go find out the right things to be saying and doing, and assess whether you need to be in this marriage or not. You need to find out about yourself. You need to find out why you are reacting the way you are. Um, I tell a story about one guy and his wife that I met once, and I met them because he had been screwing around on his wife. I mean, to put it mildly. And they ended up getting divorced. And he came to me afterwards and said, I've made a most terrible mistake. And I said, well, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. And he said, I want my wife back. And I said to him, I can help you to a certain degree. But before I even do that, I have to ask you a very, very important question. And he said, what is that? And I said, are you willing and are you prepared to deal with the fact that every time you two have a fight, what you did is probably going to come back and haunt you? And you won't think it's fair, but it may be what comes back every single time. So unless you get really strong about how you're going to counter that and how you're going to live with that and know that you deserved it, there's no point in wasting your money because it is going to happen. I'm pretty sure. And it was interesting because he said, I understand. I cannot take that back. I did what I did. I said, okay, fine. And funny enough, I did manage to help him, and he did manage to get back with his wife, and they remarried. And I have a picture of the family on my fridge. But it's really one of those things. If you are in a situation, she got out of the line of fire. She didn't want to get treated like that, so she got out of the line of fire. If you have somebody, if you're in a job that abuses you, and when I say abuses you, abuses your time, abuses your kindness, whatever, you can say no. I'm sorry, this doesn't work for me. I've got to say no occasionally. Or you can get out of the line of fire, go and get a job where they appreciate you more. Jonas did that. Do you remember Jonas, one of our viewers? He didn't like the one job he was in, so he got out of the line of fire. So, but it's not a case of it's just all about them. It's if we allow it to happen, then we are the victims. And as you know, we work very hard here to try and turn people away from being victims and into victors. Rather, there's a different way to do that. Now, this is a very interesting thing that Robin said. He said, you will have bad times, but they will always wake you up to the stuff you weren't paying attention to. I'm sure that some of you have had that happen where, you were kept ignoring something and then life made you sit up and notice it. While you're thinking about that, let me just read what Beth said here. Even if it's a cost to a family member, cost you a family member. Yeah, I'm afraid so, Nana. That would, that's your choice to make. All right. I can't tell you get out of the line of fire of a family member, but that is your choice to make. I have done that. I've got out of the line of fire of a family member. And, I realized the price I was paying was higher than I wanted to. All right. So Beth is saying, if you really knew me, when I see old pictures of me smiling as a child, I see only pain. Others see a happy child. When I look at my twins as children, I wonder if they were happy. Why don't you ask them, Beth? So Nana's saying, I think I need to change how I look at it. Yes, you might choose to. All right? Don't do a guilt trip. Don't do a guilt trip. Just you may choose to change how you look at it. Now, there are a lot of people will tell you just, turn the other cheek, give more love. But my experience has been, I'm pretty sure knowing you that you've already done that 10 times over. You have done what as well, Pat, just so that I know. And hi, good to see you. And how many of you really relate to this one? No matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. Yes, that's true. Yes, Pat, I forgot about that. Yes, Pat had the same problem. Pat had a family member that was always doing a guilt trip and abuse on Pat, and she just stopped the relationship. I think you're still polite, right, Pat? You still, if they call, you still chat, but you you don't invest any energy. I think that would be the word I'd like to put in there. You know, you're not busy trying to get them to like you anymore, right? Yes, Ange, I quite agree with you. Angela is saying walking away is sometimes self-preservation. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do. I still have conversations with my family member every now and then. But I don't invest a lot of energy in it. I'm polite. I thank them. You know, you are no longer a doormat, Pat. Yeah. And if that's the one gift that we could give you, I'm happy for it. Because I want to tell you there is incredible freedom in that. Incredible freedom. Where you realize, I don't have to do this. I can get out of the line of fire. I had it happen in a job once where the wife of the owner of the business was so rude to me. I think she was jealous of me at some level, to be honest. But she was so snarky and rude to me. And I just looked at her and I said, you know something? I've got to be quite honest. You guys don't pay me enough to take this sort of abuse. So please forgive me. I'm about to go and go back to my office, clean it out, and I'm out of here. And the husband, took me for coffee about a week later and apologized for the behavior and asked if I'd like to come back. And I said, no, thank you. I won't. Because what I knew is as long as he was around, she would be polite, but I knew how she really felt about me. And yeah, I had no wish to be part of that. By the way, the interesting thing is that she did a great deal later on in life. She was a alcoholic at the time, and she got into recovery. And I must admit that she has gone out of her way, in her own way, to be really nice to me since then. And I am polite. I don't invest a lot of my heart and soul in it because I know what's underneath there, but I am polite and I just am wary. Seize the day because, believe it or not, each and every one of us in this room is one day going to stop breathing. I'm a great believer in, if you love somebody, tell them, right? If you miss somebody, tell them. If you care about somebody, tell them. Don't worry that it's not convenient or it's not the right time or, they'll think I'm weird or whatever. Send an email. If you don't want to speak to them, send an email and tell them. If send a text and tell them. But most of all, tell them. Because as we know, time and time again, we talk about it all the time, you are not responsible for the other person's behavior. You're only responsible for yours. And sometimes what the other person really probably needs more than anything is somebody to tell them that they're appreciated. And if you've ever been in that place we were talking about earlier, where you're that lonely or that sad or that alone, generally, you'd be amazed what somebody, dropping you an email and saying, hey, I know I probably should have told you this months ago, but I really want to thank you. I so appreciated what you did for me, whatever. Sometimes somebody getting that, it could change their day, and in some cases, quite honestly, could change their life. Somebody told me once, and I thought it was absolutely such a true statement. You cannot be a failure if one person believes in you. The only thing is that one person needs to be you. And I think what happens to a lot of people when they get down on themselves is they don't believe they're a good person at some level, right? They're waiting for other people to tell them. And if you live your life waiting for other people to tell you that, then you will live a lonely life at some stage. You have to know that you have done your best. Nana's saying we all need a hug in the morning and one at the end of the day. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? That's where you fail. I don't see you as a failure, Nana, quite honestly. I mean, if that's what you want to believe. But I do believe that we could all do better. Yeah, and then how about this one? Everybody you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. Now, that one is one I'm going to work on a great deal more. I'm really working on that this year, which is to remember that, regardless of what somebody has done to me, I need to learn to be kind. Um, I don't have to agree with what they did, but, be kind. And that's a big one for me. I lived a life of in a family that thought revenge was a good idea, or that payback was a good idea, and so forth. So, to me, it's a complete learning, and I'm certain some of you will agree with me if you've been if you've grown up being taught this way, that it's difficult to change. And I can't help but think, in some ways, I think about everything. You'll forgive me on going political for a second, but I'm thinking about everything that Donald Trump must have been taught from his father, and how difficult it would be for him to change that. He must have really admired his father. And the sad thing is, he's probably taught his kids everything he knows. And therefore, his children will teach their children everything they know. And how will that cycle get broken? I'm not sure. And Robin said, you must strive to find your own voice, because the longer you wait to begin, the less likely you are to find it. To find don't try and be a copy of anybody else. Don't just trot out what you think everybody wants you to say. If somebody asks for your opinion, give it. I had it happen today where somebody asked for my opinion, and I gave it, and it was an ouch moment for them. And I wrote back and said, I'm so sorry, but you did ask for my opinion, and I think you know me well enough. If you ask for my opinion, I will tell you my truth. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I will tell you my truth. And it was interesting because I thought that person knew that about me pretty well. And, they wrote back and apologized and said, yes, I do know that. And I'm sorry to have reacted the way I did. Well, the point was that I had not reacted in the way that they had expected of me. Does that make sense? They thought they'd done something really clever, and I was worried about what had happened. And so, it was interesting that because I didn't react the way they thought I would, they saw that as a negative, when really it wasn't. I was actually concerned and said so. And if I don't tell my truth, then I can't be me, right? And I like being me. I like it that people come to me because they know I am going to tell my truth. Doesn't mean I'm right, but you're going to get what I really feel. And I think I've always held true to that as far as I can. I'm trying to think where do I not do that? There aren't many cases when I do that, where I will tell the truth even if it means I lose a bit of nicety along the way. Beth saying, I need to work on the hugs. I don't let people touch me very often, except my grandchildren. When I receive a hug, it's like an overwhelming shock to my system. It makes me want to cry. I don't like it. Yeah, actually, Beth, it comes under the word control. You control your environment in a lot of ways, Beth. All right. You have very tight control on your environment. And what happens when somebody hugs you is you are left vulnerable. And that's why it makes you want to cry, because you actually enjoy it because you've never had it a great deal. And that's why you don't like it. That intimacy is probably something you've always craved at some level. And, when you look at it, I totally understand that it would be uncomfortable for you. Yeah, you see, and Pat relates to that as well. For a lot of people, that level of intimacy is very difficult. And yet, I'm pretty sure, Pat, if I rocked up at your front door, you would hug me. Or am I wrong on that? Yes, Beth, you cry uncontrollably, honey, because you deserve to be hugged a great deal. Do you actually ask? Yeah, I know you would, Pat, 'cause I wouldn't give you a choice. But it's like I've never had any fear that you would hug me. Never had any fear of that at all. Isn't that funny? Because how could I go and play? How could I go and play in your quilt room if you hadn't hugged me? I wouldn't feel welcome. And I want to go and play in that quilt room. So, it's interesting, isn't it? And Beth, I wonder if I turned up at your doorstep, would you hug me? Or would you be standoffish? I know when I first met Angela at the airport, we ran. It was really funny. It was like I was totally lost in the moment, and then I caught her face, and it was funny because it was like, this was my long lost sister somewhere here. Um, and that was the beginning of a very, very funny week. But it's really, yeah, I think you did. I think you did, Nana. You're right. All right. And it was like, I think if you've been part of this, I don't know how you could not hug somebody. That to me is so that's interesting. And only Robin Williams could say this. He said, "Why do they call it Russia when nobody moves?" you know. All right, so here we go. Beth saying, "I still don't want people to see me as weak. I know it's not weak to show emotion, but it's like remember longing for a hug and not getting one. So I adapted." Beth, you're probably going to be surprised to hear this. I come from a non-hugging family. Can you believe that? Uh, I can literally stand in front of my sister or my brother, and I will tell them I would I really would like to give you a hug. May I do that? And they will cringe rather than have me hug them. So, but in my real life, everybody knows me. Knows I actually made a point of getting new family that knew about hugs and how important they are. And as Nana says, we need a hug every morning, every night. And I'm hope that you do that for Charles. Because if we can't do that to the people that we love, then we might want to ask ourselves why. Why would I not take the time to do that? I want to tell you, Yvonne, who lives downstairs, she and I, every time we meet, right, whether it's in the laundry room, whether she comes upstairs to talk to me, um, whatever it is, whenever we meet, we will not say goodbye without giving each other a hug. Yeah, you see, Charles knows that you don't like to hug. Well, I'd like you to change that. But that's what I would like. I would like you to show Charles that you can be true to him. And I'm pretty sure that he would love to hug you. But I could be wrong. Actually, you lie, Beth. I think you do love to hug. I don't think that a goal. Yes, quite agree with you, Nana. You deserve a hug. Yeah, and I want to tell you something, Jody. Yvonne and I don't, she will be talking to me upstairs and she'll go back downstairs where she lives. And she will always say, I love you. And, I'm saying the same thing. So, this is about, yeah, damn the torpedo. Really, a hug is such a wonderful thing between people. It is a vulnerability. If you can show vulnerability to somebody you love, I think it's a very good thing. Yeah, you just don't like to cry. Well, the way you desensitize yourself, Beth. Okay, Beth, I want to tell you a story that Lauren helped me with here. All right. Lauren was telling me one day, and I've probably told the story, that she doesn't like it when people use the word Xmas instead of Christmas because it's disrespectful to Christ. And I said, well, funny enough, I learned it a different way. I learned the fact that you put a cross at the beginning because of Christ. And therefore, I didn't see that as disrespectful at all. Anyway, that was the discussion. But what I said to Lauren was, Lauren, if you will allow me, I will help you to desensitize away from this problem. And she said, what? And I said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to intentionally write Xmas every now and then. And I want you to smile every time you see it, as opposed to be upset with it. Would you like that help? Do you understand? We can desensitize ourselves. So, Beth, if you want to desensitize yourself to your what you consider to be too great a reaction to being hugged, do it more. All right. Do it more so you don't cry every time. Do it more so it just becomes a hug. This is, I love you. And he also said, never say goodbye, because saying goodbye means going away. And going away means forgetting. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't think going away means forgetting unless we choose to forget. I didn't know he said this one. He said cricket is basically baseball on Valium. If you don't know what Valium is, it's a antidepressant. It makes you really calm. And Beth saying, oh, I can cry by myself. And then I tell myself, you're a loser. You're not supposed to cry. Smile. I want to tell you something. Beth, if I could give you a gift, a real gift, it would be the ability to, if you're not doing it already, to get into therapy and cry all you need to cry. Really. Get it out. Get it out of your way. Don't live the second half of your life the way you lived the first half. You deserve better. In his Oscar acceptance speech, Robin Williams said, most of all, I want to thank my father up there. The man who, when I said I wanted to be an actor, said, wonderful, just have a backup profession like welding. How many of us, if our sons or daughters said, I want to be an actor, would go, oh, good, I'm pleased to hear that. That's the interesting thing, is that we forget that some people were born to be actors. Some people were born not to be lawyers and doctors. I worked with one young man once who wanted to get into med school. And, the more I talked to him, the more I realized this man did not want to be a doctor at all, not in his real world. So he wanted to actually be a dancer. That's what he loved. And I said, why are you studying to be a doctor? Why are you going this route? No, because of my parents. That's what they want me to do. Well, the reason the parents wanted him to be a doctor is so he could make a lot of money and then share it with them. And I said to him, you got a couple of choices here. I would recommend that if you really want to carry on with this, then go ahead and do it. But make sure you keep dancing and throughout your life. Make sure you're doing what you love, even if you do it part-time. Do it. The other thing is once you've got through once you got the qualifications, go do what you want to do. Maybe do this for a few years and make the money or whatever, pay back your loans, and then after that, go do what you want to do. And if your parents don't like that, then that's their problem. I do not believe it is the children's job to look after the parents in whatever culture you live in. I do believe that the children may choose to do that or want to do that. That's a whole different thing. But I don't think it should be a burden put upon the children. And this is a wonderful, wonderful piece of advice that he gave in Good Will Hunting. He said, "You're not perfect, sport. And let me save you the suspense. The girl you met, she isn't perfect either. But the question is not whether or not you're perfect for each other. Oh, sorry. But the question is whether or not you're perfect for each other. That's the whole deal. That's what intimacy is all about." Hi, Niasha. How many of you can see that what love is when somebody finds out what's like when all your masks are removed, they find out who you really are and they still love you. That to me is love. All right. They don't just love you with the masks on. They love you when you're sick. They love you, when they love who you are, not what you can do for them. And, I know a couple of you because I've seen it in action, but I know a couple of you are in those sort of relationships where it's loving. Why? You've proved it to yourself. You've been sick. You've been less than perfect or whatever, and they still love you. And I think that's such a wonderful gift. Be thankful for that every day. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of a human race. And the human race is filled with passion. And medicine, law, business, engineering, those are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we need to stay alive. Wow. And what have you done lovingly this week? Would be my question. What have you done that was loving? Not waiting for somebody else to do that for you. What have you done? And Robin also said, please don't worry so much, because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, which is so beautiful, right? Robin, with his own sense of humor, said, if women ran the world, we wouldn't have wars, just very intense negotiations every 28 days. Isn't that the truth? So, he had just such an incredible perspective on life. I think that was his gift, right? He didn't see things in the reality that a lot of people saw them. And he's saying here that when I was growing up, they used to say, Robin, drugs can kill you. Now that I'm 58, my doctors are telling me, Robin, you need these drugs to live. Now I realize that my doctor is also my dealer. You see? Um, yeah, I find this, yeah, I grew up in a society where, you try not to take pills, right? I was always taught, don't take the pills because when you really need them, you they won't have any effect on you. And the funny thing is, I realize now that maybe I'm at the age where it's okay to take the pills. Hey, I've got a technical question for you guys. Because I'm not a pill aficionado, when do you take ibuprofen, as I call it, as opposed to Advil? And I've got to ask that question because I have both in my life, and then I'm never quite sure when do I take the ibuprofen and when do I take Advil? Does anybody have a sort of magic formula on that? It's like I don't know why I have them both in my house because I think they're the same thing, sort of. You can tell how much I know about these things. Are they both anti-inflammatories? They are the same. Okay, but why is it that sometimes you can't take one with a different drug? For example, there are some cases where you can't take Advil if you're taking a certain drug, but you can take the other. You can take ibuprofen, but the formula cannot be the same, in my view, Beth, because why would you only need 1 or 2 Advil rather than 6 ibuprofens? You know what I'm saying? So the formula cannot be the same. They must contain different things, in my view. But you're saying they're both anti-inflammatories. I'll wait for some more feedback on that. How many of you agree with this quote? Our job is improving the quality of our life, not just delaying death. Right? How many of you feel that you are improving your quality of life through your actions, thoughts, and deeds these days? Do any of you feel like that? And if you don't, then yeah, I Beth, you're right. You're doing a lot of things to improve your life. And thank you. Because of you, I'm doing a lot of things to improve mine. It's so funny how I keep looking at my little boxes in my fridge and go, "Hi, Beth." I just need you to know that I do that, Beth. When I open up my fridge and I see the pre-prepping, I always say, "Hi, Beth." Wow, so Advil is a brand name of ibuprofen? I didn't know that. Huh. Well, now I've learned something. Well, there you go. You see, I learn something every day. I'm glad I asked. Now, how many of you understand I have no fear to ask the question and look stupid? All right. Why? Because I want the answer. And I think that's something I would say to a lot of you, which is don't fear asking the stupid question, because sometimes the stupid question, you're not the only one that wants that answer. And I've always said that to people, just if you're the sort of person that can put your hand up and ask the stupid question, do it, because there's so many people in the room. When I was on stage, I used to say it all the time. There's so many people in the room that want to ask the question but don't have the sphericals to do so. So please, if you want to ask the question, ask it. And if you're asking too many, I'll let you know. And then what I do, if somebody put their hand up, I say, okay, fine, hang on a second. What's the question? I get them to ask the question. And then I turn to the audience and I'd say, how many of you also thought that? How many of you actually thought, I wonder, the same thing? And, maybe 20 hands would go up and I'd say to the person who asked the question, you just asked that question for 20 other people. And I'd say to the 20 other people, give her a round of applause, please. Because were it not for her courage, you wouldn't have the answer. Makes sense. Everybody always makes fun of that person who asks the questions, the stupid questions. But here, guess what? They're not stupid. They're people who want to learn. Ah, Nana had a snack. Well done. Yeah, Jody's saying, I so admire the person who asked the question. They always get bonus points from me. Yeah. And Robin also said there are no rules. Just follow your heart. And I think what he's saying, really, life is so short. Why not do what you like to do? There is no shame in failing. The only shame is not giving things your best shot. Makes sense, right? So, as I'm sitting there struggling to learn these new computer programs and getting frustrated, I go, it's okay. This is how I learn things. Why is that bad that you had a small piece of bread and peanut butter? Why is that bad? Yeah, Niesh is saying, I do ask a lot of questions, but I'm self-conscious. I do get a feeling that you ask a lot of them. Yeah, but you know something, Niasha? You ask a lot of them because you want a lot of answers. I had bread today. It's funny, but I now have this one, I allow myself one Kaiser roll a week, and I literally cut it and I took 2 slices of a roll and had it with what did I have it with? Basil, olive oil, uh, margarine, and Marmite. So, there are no rules, Nana. You get to choose. You can put whatever you want into your body. All right? You can put, that's your choice. I'm certain that you will have a day where you put, no, I really don't think you need to do that to yourself. I started to do that to myself last night, Nana, when I had to have sugar. And, I just said, it's useless. Why am I beating up on myself? My body needed the sugar. And then I also said, something else, Sal? You're learning. You don't have to be perfect in this. You are learning how to adjust. And it'll make you sick. Yes. But you knew that when you took it. So that was a conscious choice. All right. Now you must have really wanted it that you took it, even though you know it would make you sick. All right. So Jody's saying, Sal, speaking of bread, your cutting board with the cheese types is gorgeous. I got that in a dollar store. Jody. Yeah, I'm learning, Nana. I want to tell you, and I realized the learning could take the rest of my life, all right, as I learned to adjust. And I really did. I had a very serious talk to myself about the fact that, hey, this may take you more than 2 weeks to learn, Sal. You're going to have some days that are better than others. Right? It's going to take you a while. And then you probably still won't get it right all the time. But I was very proud of myself, Nana, because I knew that I'd had a bad moment last night. I went out and walked the long block today between broadcasts. Well, thank you, Nana. I appreciate the support. It is very difficult for somebody that spent their life with sugar. I am working very hard to learn. Thank you for the compliment that you're amazed how much I've learned. I really want to tell you something that I study. When I say I study, I'm reading every label to try and understand it better. I couldn't understand how much trouble I had with the avocado yesterday. Yeah, that was like, I thought this was meant to be good for me, and how come it's 300 calories? That really messed my brain. Niash is saying, Nana, I'm diabetic, but I wasn't going to let it define my Christmas and birthday, which are 1 week apart, right? I eat cake, ice cream, and even cooked food with lots of butter, and I am happy. Yes, I think, it's not, I refuse to spend my life, hi, Sakura, I refuse to spend my life talking about what I can't do. I want to know what I can do. So I really do. I have had everything that I want to eat, just very small portions of it. Right? Yes, everybody gets to make their own choice. I have had pasta. I now make my pasta, Nana. You would laugh if you could see me make pasta these days. I put some ground meat in the bottom. I put about 3 or 4 pieces of pasta, and then I put vegetables, and then I put 3 or 4 pieces of pasta, and then I put more meat, and then over the top, the very top part, this is in a mason jar. I just layer it. Mason jar this big, and I put them in layers, and then over the top of it, I just put a tiny little bit of HP sauce or something, and then I stick the lid on, not the screwy bit, but just the lid, and I stick it in the toaster oven and let it cook for an hour. Like at 200, 250. Just let it quietly cook away. And that is my pasta dish. So, to me, do I have insulin? I not at the moment. I'm not. No, at the moment I am waiting to hear all about that. The Nana, my whole thing is I am going to eat whatever I want to eat. All right. You know what I mean? I just, don't tell me I can't ever have it because then I'll want it. If you told me I was going to be able to change and only have one roll a week, I wouldn't have believed you, but I actually thoroughly enjoy it now. That's the difference. I'm actually busy eating through my ice cream bars because I just bought a whole lot when I got diagnosed, a bulk thing. So, I'm eating my way through. Once they're finished, that'll be another story. I will do that a different way. All right. So, Isabel, aspirin, ibuprofen, Advil, Motrin, these can make your pressure higher. And Tylenol does not have that effect on the glycemic index. Really? Well, you see, Isabel, at some level, I was correct that aspirin, ibuprofen, in other words, Advil and Motrin, these can make your blood pressure higher. Tylenol does not have that effect. All right, so Nana can't do that. You see, you've got to know, we've each got to know what will happen. I assure you that some people can deal with stress better than others, right, Nana? Some people can deal with abuse better than others. Some people, and this is the whole thing about life. There isn't a right way. That's what I'm learning. There's not a right way. There's just, what's the best way for you? And, therefore, I don't know the right way. So I'm certain that over the course of the next few months, I'm going to learn stuff about my reaction to stuff that will be very fascinating to me. Yes, Dan is saying sadly diabetics don't have the immediate response. All right. So what you're saying is I can eat something now and it won't react until later. Is that what you're saying? That I've got to learn? You see me doing the right things. Thank you, Nana. I am really trying. And the funny thing was, after I finished the broadcast today, I really needed to sleep. That's what I wanted to do. I was tired. And I went, Sal, there are two things you really need. You need some exercise. You need to get out and do some exercise. And then you need to eat. And I literally walked the block, which takes me 15 minutes. And then I came back and I cooked myself a 1 egg omelet in a mason jar. I literally quickly whipped up an omelet, threw in some spring onion, and put it in the microwave. And I went, okay, I know that's protein and that's good for me. Yeah, I'm really trying to do the right things. I want to make sure, Nana, and that's just my way of dealing with things. I want to make sure that when I get to the dietitian, I don't end up in tears. You know, I want to make sure that when I go to the dietitian, I go, okay, fine, I'm already doing that, and I'm already doing that. I need to improve on that area. But even then, as two people have said to me, regardless of what they tell you, you still end up being the one that you can put whatever you like into your body. It's the price you're going to pay. All right. You know that you can eat whatever you want, but it's just the price you will pay. You don't want to end up in hospital. Um, I'm not quite sure what that is, Nana. What is dilation? Oh, your dietitian was a joke for you. Okay, sorry. Thank you. All right, your dietitian was a joke. Yeah. I got a feeling that you'll forgive me, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure by the time I get to see a dietitian, I probably will know far more than they expect me to. Right? That's my goal. Not because I want to be a know-it-all, just because I don't want it to be a shock. That's why I'm doing so much research. Now, Nyasha, that's an interesting thing, and I appreciate that you said that because I wondered about that. All right, Nyasha's saying that if she eats too much sugar and stuff, she will then go for a cleanse. She will, um, do a colon cleanse so she gets rid of it all. But I don't think that actually necessarily works. Let us hear from the people who know, Nyasha. Um, so if you eat a lot of sugar, if you then immediately take a lot of fiber or whatever, uh, is that a good thing to do? I don't know how Nyasha cleans her colon, but um, I I have definitely been aware of eating more fiber and drinking more. That is, I'm absolutely amazed, and I don't know if anybody else finds this. I can drink hot or warm green tea all day long and think it's coffee. Do you know what I mean? I just drink it like it's coffee. And yet, if you ask me to drink water, I can't drink nearly as much. I'll drink far more green tea. Yeah, I must admit that I've got this new mantra. It goes, if that was sweet, you need the meat. If that was sweet, you need the meat. I don't go to cleanse my body, I go to balance the sweet. That's why I'm asking for the people who know, Nyasha, that maybe that's not the right way to do it. Yes, that's what I thought, Sakura. Yeah, Sakura is saying that the sugar will still be in your system. That's what I thought. Yeah, and Jody's saying the same thing. I don't believe that it's effective for reducing the effects of sugar. Drinking lots of water is what is advised. Okay. Um, the sugar goes into the blood. Yeah, you can't catch that it fast enough, unfortunately, Nyasha. All right, so what they're saying, and we're not doctors, Nyasha, nor do we pretend to be, but people with diabetes are suggesting that the next time you have sugar, um, really rather than do a major number on cleansing your colon, just drink a lot of water, or or balance out with protein. Have some cheese, have some meat. No, honey, apparently not. But we're not doctors, but people with diabetes are saying no. By the way, did you get the program loaded, Nyasha? Is there anything you need help with on that one? Yeah, protein is the best. So, Nyasha, do you hear what I say? If it's sweet, eat the meat. All right? That's just keep saying to yourself, if I've just had sweet, I need the meat. And the meat being, I can have meat or cheese or egg. Those are all proteins, right? Well, next time you're with your doctor, Nyasha, discuss that with your doctor. But no, you're not correct in saying that if I suddenly give myself, if I purge, that is actually quite a dangerous thing to do to your body a lot. So don't do that. Fish as well. Oh. What about seafood, Pat? Yeah, cleansing is good if you ate too much, but not to get rid of sugar. All right. The other thing is be very careful what you use to cleanse with. That's the reason I say that. The reason that I say that is because I had a friend of mine who overused uh, X-Lax or something like that and ended up completely ruining her colon. So be very careful what you use. And, if you're going to use natural fiber, that's great. But, be careful what you use. Whoever thought we'd be having that discussion today? Right. So Nana can't have caramel, but she can have shortbread. Don't mention shortbread. I love this. Robin Williams said, "Do you think God gets stoned?" I think so. Look at the platypus. You know? It was the same thing as I was talking at lunchtime about the loofah. And, how I always thought it came from the sea and it doesn't. And how you can use it as a scrubber. And, it was so funny because I'm going, why did God produce a loofah? Right? Ah, okay, Nia. So to ask away, if I can help, let me know what the problem is as well. Between us, we'll get you there. It's actually pretty easy to sign up for it. So this is called my virtual mission. It's pretty easy to do. So obviously we have most of the answers because we've been able to do it. Nana says he gave us the platypus because he loved us. Yeah, right. And wanted to amuse us, maybe. I don't know. He said, "You know what music is? God's little reminder that there's something else besides us in this universe. Harmonic connection between all living beings, everywhere, even in the stars." Isn't that beautiful? You know what music is? It's God's little reminder that there's something else besides us in this universe. Harmonic connection between all living beings, everywhere, even in the stars. Ah, I think it's beautiful. That's very poetic. All right, so Sakura is saying, update. I had been on dairy on a group page with me and my husband for 1990. Being a diary. I had been a diary on a group page. It's my form of journaling for this year, but private as well. My hubby loves it. Yes, what I did is I started a written diary again because I wanted to make sure I kept track of what was happening to my food and my moods. I believe that's really important. And so I try and put in my weight every day and how I'm feeling and how many steps I took. And, does that correlate to feeling any better? I moved my steps up from, I'm trying to average now 5,000 a day. which probably doesn't sound like anything if I compare it with Beth, for example. But for me, it's nearly double what I was doing. So, that's really quite an increase for me. Well, Nyasha, why ask somebody else where to stop? And Nyasha's saying that she knows where she's starting from, but she doesn't know where to put the end point. My whole thing is that I think it's really important for you, Nyasha, to put somewhere where you can get some pretty good uh, um, gratification. In other words, I wouldn't set a 3-year goal. I'd far rather for you, this is just my wish for you, but I would far rather that you set yourself a medium goal, maybe something that could take a year, and find that you can do it in 6 months and go, okay, I got that goal done. Now then, my next goal is to do from this point onwards to the next one. So, for example, I've got this like a big goal, but I've got it set in smaller ones. In other words, my first goal is to get from where I started to a town about 25 miles away. That's my first goal. And I need to, my goal is to get there before Valentine's Day. So, it's really important to have achievement. And I think if you don't have achievement, now, for example, because Jody is doing hers with arm rolls because she cannot walk and she cannot wheel. Excuse me. Jody will tell you, I spend a lot of time talking to Jody about the next street. All right. Because I know for her, her next street is as far away for her as maybe a whole block or two for me, big blocks for me. All right. So I'm trying to be aware that what she's doing takes as much energy for her to go one street, one block, as it does for me to go maybe 10. So, that's really important when I'm supporting her for me. And I hope it helps her. By the way, she did pass the Kentucky Fried Chicken. All right, Sakura, all the best. And thank you for popping in and updating us. You know something, Jody, but to me, it's really important because I know how difficult it is for you to do anything. So the fact you even do one block to me is awesome. I don't compare it to what I'm doing at all. It's just like it is your challenge to do a block. And I wonder how many people would be prepared to do it the way that you're doing it. That's incredible. And to think that you did it to support me, I can assure you I'm going to do everything I know to support you. And it was good to hear today that you feel you're getting slightly stronger with it as well. How about this one for a great quote? He said, sometimes you've got to specifically go out of your way to get into trouble. It's called fun. Think of Angela. Angela and I, during that week, got into so much trouble. We laughed so much. And we were like a couple of teenage girls, it was just nobody else could understand why we were laughing so much. And we were crying with laughter for so much of that time. Yeah. Well, Jody, I'm glad that you're having fun doing it because that would be my absolute wish for you, for it to be fun for you as well. And, to me, I would almost like to see, when the weather gets better, that we get more people involved in it. I really had to be a bit careful with the weather doing what it was. Anish is asking, the reason why I asked was because I really want to set a long distance. I didn't really want to set a long distance and ultimately give up on yourself. Yeah, I don't want you to do that either. Because I heard time and time again to go exercise, but I never did. But this I'm going to do. That's why I think you should set a smaller goal. I don't think you should set it to, I would literally try and walk around Trinidad. That's a pretty big goal. All right. I'm not sure. Um, just you know, uh, I'm not quite sure how far that is, but that would be a big goal anyway. And then what I would like to see you do is for you to send us pictures of the places that you're passing by. For example, I knew that I was walking towards a very well-known local store that is really pretty, and I actually sent pictures to Jody and to Lauren to show them why I was so wanted to get to that store because it was pretty. But they wouldn't appreciate that. So I sent them a picture of that so they could see why I kept talking about it. And I think that way, I'm certain we'd all love to know a lot more about Trinidad and Tobago. So, it's just like help us learn. And by the way, we all want to know how to do the cooking thing that you were doing. I have no idea what that food looks like that you were talking about was your national dish. Sounded like pastille, but I don't think that's how you pronounce it. I'd like to know what that is. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't know. Now, I must admit that I didn't want to know enough to go and look it up on Google, so maybe that's what I need to do. I thought this is really cute and so true. Robin Williams said, "I was only a leading man for a minute. Now I'm a character actor." All right. In other words, for a certain time in his life, he was the leading man in certain movies. And then as he got older, he became a character actor within them. Isn't that true? He also said, don't associate yourself with toxic people. It's better to be alone and love yourself than surround yourself with people that make you hate yourself. Wow. Isn't that the truth? Don't associate yourself with toxic people, right? This is why I'm saying get out of the line of fire. It's better to be alone and love yourself than be surrounded by people that make you hate yourself. Mm, think that's a really good thing to remember, people. Golf is a game. Forgive me for this one, please, everybody. He said golf is a game where white men can dress up like black pimps and get away with it. My children give me a great sense of wonder just to see them develop into those extraordinary human beings. How many of you have been in awe of watching children grow up? I was in awe of Juliana the last time I saw her. Her knowledge base just blew me away. I'm going, boy, just yesterday you were a baby, and now you're busy telling me three different types of whale species. I'm like, hello. No, I don't need you to send it to me. I just would like to know. I would just like to know, right? So it is spelt Pastels, pastels. Jody, please write that down for me because I really do want to have a look at what that looks like. And no, you don't need to send it to me because I just need to have a look at it because chances are I probably won't be allowed to eat it anyway. And, I thought this was great. To be free, such a thing would be greater than all the magic and treasures in all the world. Right? How many of you wish to be free? For how many of you is freedom something you really cherish? I find that I have noticed that throughout my life. If ever I'm in a job that limits me too much, if I am in a relationship that limits me too much, if I don't feel free to be me, then I've got to break out and I'd rather be alone. He also said that change is not popular. We are creatures of habit as human beings. I want it to be the way it was. But if you continue the way it was, there will be no is, right? You can't have today because life is constantly changing, right? If we insist on trying to keep as it was, we will never be in the present. We will always be living in the past. Yay, I agree with you on that one. And he said, there is a world out there. Open a window and it's there. I also say to people who are lonely, open the door, go outside, meet people. Be the friend other people are looking for, and you will not be lonely anymore. Go visit a hospital and go visit people who haven't got visitors. I find whenever I go to a hospital, I don't know if any of you do this, but whenever I have reason to visit somebody in hospital, as I'm leaving the person that I went to visit, I will say to the nursing staff, is there anybody here without family? And they'll look at me and go, what? And I go, I just want to know, is there anybody here that doesn't get any visitors? Because maybe their family lives in another town or whatever, that they're here on their own. And, nearly every time I get told, actually, Mrs. So-and-so on Ward 6. And I go, thank you. Is it okay if I go and visit her? And they'll look at me and they go, really? And I said, yeah, really. All right. Really, I would, I've got extra time. I will make time. And I have been and visited people and they've gone, what are you doing here? And I say, I came to say hello. Why? Just because I am here and I heard you haven't had too many visitors and I thought you might like one. Why would you do that? Well, because that's who I am. Well, why me? Well, you're the one that doesn't have too many visitors. So may I sit down for a second? What? Well, may I sit down? You mean you're actually going to sit and talk to me? I go, yeah. And it's funny because they'll fight me for the longest time. And then eventually they give up and they go, oh, you really care. And I'm going, yeah, surprising, isn't it? Yeah. Some people really do care. I want to tell you, yeah, lumpia is really, I want to tell you, I even made lumpia because I like it so much. Actually, I probably can make lumpia. That probably is good for me. What's it got in it that could be bad? The oil? No? Yeah. I just, it's really easy to make. The only thing is the oil, but you can bake them rather than deep fry them. So, I know that your eyesight might stop you from being able to deep fry, or maybe you can make them and maybe your mom can make them for you. Cook them. If you can make them, she can probably cook them for you. Yeah, Jody bakes hers. I think I would bake mine in future, yeah. Right. Personal choice, right? I bet you I could make them in my little gizmo. I could make them and freeze them, as Judy does, and then I could pull them out and cook them in my little gizmo. What a good idea. Thank you for mentioning that. That'd be so tasty. However, you got to be careful what I dip them in, right? You can cook them in soup. Yes, that's also true. And that would be more like dim sum, right? You could cook them in a broth. So it's like the base of it is very common in Asia. It's really just food contained within a pocket of some sort. And whether you make it in a roll or a dumpling doesn't really matter. Hmm. Jody, am I allowed rice flour? Mm. Beth, you've had impact again. I just bought 4 cans of garbanzo beans, otherwise known as chickpeas, to make like a wonton. Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Anyway, I bought chickpeas so that I can make. I want to make my own papadons, and I also want to make yeah, things with chickpeas as a base. You don't have lumpia wrappers there. I bet you do. Do you have a Chinatown at all in Niasha, anywhere near you? I have yet to find a country where there wasn't where you couldn't get egg roll wrappers. Yeah, and most supermarkets will have egg roll wrappers if you ask them. That's what it is. And by the way, you can put whatever you like in them. I made them with bean sprouts. Rather than rice, I use bean sprouts and things in them. So it's up to you what you put in them. I'm beginning to think that's a really healthy thing for me to eat, but it's the dip that's going to be the problem. Good night, Nana. Thank you. Great suggestion. Yeah, I've got to think about what I presume soy sauce probably is okay. Yeah. Nyasha, we'll see what we can do to help you there. So I'm hoping that some of these quotes make some sense. And again, I want to finish by reminding you, ask yourself regularly whether you're wearing a mask. Ask yourself if you're trying to show the world that you are feeling better than you really are. And why are you doing that? Ask yourself, am I lying to my friends? And again, why am I doing that? Um, am I pretending to be more intelligent than I am? And if so, why? Why don't you just learn some more? And if you don't tell your friends the truth, how can they trust you? All right. I would far rather hear from my friends that they're not feeling well and that they could do with some support than always tell me they're feeling great. And so I look at these things, and the way that I try to keep in integrity is to ask myself those questions. If you really knew me, what would you know? And I'm hoping that if you really knew me, you would know exactly what you know about me. There's nothing else to know. If you really cared about me, I'm hoping that I tell you what I would need from you. Okay, there we go. Wait a minute. Rice flour will raise blood sugar, but all flour does, I believe. In moderation, it should be okay, I can imagine. Yeah, but I'm wondering about, for example, if I made flour out of chickpeas or if I made flour out of something other than, yeah. All right, so it's a bit like having a whole wheat wrapper, right? Like I have wraps made of whole wheat. That's a lot better than some others. Um, as you know, I also make myself a little better every week so that I can have um, a crepe every now and then. Instead of having 5 crepes, which I used to do, I will, after dinner, I allow myself to have a crepe with some fruit in it. And that's my go-to. So what used to what used to go down the hatch in one serving, I now spread out over a week. And it's my treat after dinner to have a crepe. Not every night, but like every other night or so, because I just love to put the crepe batter and some banana or some apple and some cinnamon because I know that's good for me, and have that as my treat. It's my sort of go-to dessert at the moment. I would think chickpeas must be pretty good. No, and you're doing a great job, Jody, as usual, and I'm certain everybody here appreciates what you're up to. Um, Good stuff, everybody. I'm very proud of you all. That was not an easy broadcast at the beginning, and everybody sort of hung in there and did their best, and so I'm proud of you because it's not um, easy stuff. I wanted to know in terms of the food that I'm eating. Okay, so almond flour and coconut flour are two things I've got to experiment with, right, Isabel? Yeah, Beth mentioned almond flour as well. So I definitely think I would like the taste of that because I do love almond as a taste. And I'm just wondering, are you guys finding it interesting that I talk about the food that I'm eating, or should I stop doing that because it's getting boring already? Not today, but just generally. Well, you know what I've really noticed? I know that steak is good for me for many reasons, but I also know that I, you know, don't want to eat as much as I used to. I will buy steak now and I cut it into 3 pieces and I'm going, and I used to eat all of that at one sitting without any problem. And now I cut it into three. So you can tell how I've changed. But certain things I found, I can eat the right thing, but boy, I'm hungry again pretty soon afterwards. That avocado did nothing for me, in terms of keeping me um, full. That's what I think happened. I had the avocado, and then I definitely wanted sugar after that. Yeah. I would rather eat steak 3 times a week and have a third of it, right? I treated myself with my gizmo machine. You would laugh, guys, what I did. I cut myself about 4 fries from potato and about 4 fries from yams. And then I cook them in my little gizmo machine that you've seen. And I'm going, I do not believe that anybody would believe what I'm doing right now. It's just like, but I want to tell you something. I cook them. I didn't deep fry them. I just cooked them in my gizmo machine, coated them in a little bit of oil, and then cooked them in my gizmo machine. And I literally had, that much, and it wasn't very much. And I put it on a plate all by itself, and I drizzled some mayo over the top. I want to tell you, I felt like I was having a gourmet meal because, I hadn't had a potato since Sunday, and it was so good. So I would say I probably had a third of a potato, if you can believe it, a third of a russet potato, probably. But oh, it tasted good. All right. So Niesh is saying, I'm not one to keep my ill health private, but I have experienced individuals taking whatever has to be told to them and mentioning it to others. So now you're careful. I think it's very, very, very important. Yeah, sure. That's why I say to you, if you notice on certain things, I will always ask you, are you sure you want me to say that in front of anybody who might watch this? Because I cannot be sure who's going to watch the program, might see this in a replay. So some things that I think are really sensitive, you will, even though you give me permission to talk, I will double check it because I'll go, I'm not sure if I'd want that to go out on the big wide web, so to speak. Yeah, Jody, I'm hoping that I will continue to have this mentality of what can I get away with here within the GI, glycemic index. And to me, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, always be careful with that sort of information. If you feel, for example, it is something you want to discuss, but you're not something you want to discuss maybe on the chat, then write to Jody or myself or somebody that you are pretty sure that is trustworthy for you. And then do it that way rather than maybe ask it on here. Or just say, I'd like to talk about this, but I'll do it later. So then we know you got something that you want to talk about. All right, everybody. So I'm hoping that you have a wonderful Saturday. I intend to. I'll be experimenting some more with food. I did find, Jody, and isn't it funny? Um, I literally have never kept the end of a cauliflower, the green leaf bits of it. I normally cut them off and throw them away. Boy, I want to tell you, I'm chopping those up now going, that's good for me. I know that's good for me. It's green leaf. I bought kale for the first time, and occasionally I buy kale and I'd freeze it. I'm buying kale, and each time I make a salad, I'm cutting one leaf of kale up and just cutting it up very fine and sprinkling it on the salad so that I get more kale in my diet. I'm amazed at the little things I'm doing. And I'm hoping that it's going to start showing pretty soon. I'm still trying to lose the weight that I put on when I had the Christmas treats. But I will get back there, and because I intend to. I'm really concerned. Did we find out why Lauren lost that much weight? I'm not quite sure how she did that. But anyway, we'll keep on track of that one and make sure that that's under control. No, I have not, Pat. Kale chips? Kale chips. Oh, kale chips. No, but I'm pretty sure I could make them. Yeah. Do you make your own? Lauren is still in hospital at the moment, Nyasha. But she seemed to be doing a lot better. We're just a bit concerned. She lost a lot of weight this week. So you just bake the kale with a little olive oil, all right? So just coat them with a little bit of olive oil and then bake them. And a bit of soy sauce. I love soy sauce. That's good. Okay. And then just bake them at what, 350 for how long? Yeah, but Jody, that was an awful lot of weight for any human being to lose in 1 week, in my view. That to me is scary. I can't imagine a doctor wanting anybody to lose that much weight in a week, intentionally. Actually, it's one thing I will say. I don't have permission from her to talk about it, so I just want to tell you it was a lot, in my view. It was a lot. And so she was really excited because she'd lost so much, and my reaction was, wow, I would talk to my doctor about that. All right, I will get permission, Pat, and then let you know. But I just want to tell you it was enough that I went, I am not sure that that is a good thing to lose that much in a week. I'm trying to imagine what that would do to your body to lose that much in a week. So that, but I must admit, once I got over the shock of it, Pat, I said, write down everything you're eating so that we know how to do it. you know. But it's about portion control. She's getting ice cream. She's eating she had fish and chips the other day, right? And so she's eating good stuff. It's just how much of it you're eating is the important thing, right? Instead of a plate this big, a plate that big. I still want to do the vlog, and I want to show you the size of different frying pans. And the frying pans I'm cooking in today as opposed to the ones I was cooking in before. And that tells you everything you need to know about how I've changed my portion control. And I did find the other day that I cooked 2 cups worth of something, And after I'd had a cupful, I realized I'd had enough. I could have finished it if I wanted to, but I realized I'd had enough and went, you can just put this away and have it later as a second meal. Yeah, I think putting it back on would be easy for any of us. Most of us are trying to lose it at this point. So I just thought it was way too much. Whenever a doctor has told me lose weight, I can't, they normally say, don't go mad, lose it gradually but consistently. So that was just my memory. And maybe I was just, clucking like a mother hen on this one. But I did say, make sure your doctor knows you've lost that much, because that's important, I think. Right, everyone. So I'm going to go and get something to eat. And thank you for all your input. I really appreciate it. I'm now going to go and cook myself a meal. Although, normally I wouldn't cook a meal at this time of night, but I do realize that I haven't had very much today in the way of a meal. I did get out, Jody, and walk the block. I just need to make sure you know that. I was, gave up on excuses and stuff. The rain stopped, and I went, if the rain stopped, I'm going out, because the rain was pretty heavy and the wind was pretty heavy. And then it all died down, and I went, I'm going to go out while I can. And I did. I was really proud of myself. So, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking this journey with me as well, because I think that, like anything else, it's all about life. How many of you know that everything in life is about doing it the healthy way, whether it's our diet or our worry or our stress levels or everything? It's all about how much do we choose to take on and how much trouble we can get into if we don't control it. I think that would be my message of the day. Thank you, Jody. And, I really have to thank you all, and Pat and everybody else here. Thank you all for your input. It all helps me learn, and I have so much to learn. And I'm hoping that by talking about it, I will help others make some choices that hopefully work for them as well. Because I definitely want to be able to say, it's not what I gave up, it's how I reduced the amount I was eating. And if I can show that that is possible, that it's not about that you have to cut everything out of your life. It's about, you can just start by changing the amount you eat, and it will have that effect. I'm hoping that works, and we'll let you know. In the meantime, this is DearMamaSal saying, have a wonderful Saturday. And we'll see you on Sunday for Soul Sunday, as usual. And the tree is standing here empty. It's going to be, the box is ready for me to pack it away tomorrow. So goodbye, Christmas tree. We'll see you next year. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now. Maybe. I always have to find the button, which is here. Bye.